actually much more moving because it sounds, as it moves across in one breath, it sounds more exulting.
Yes, yeah, okay.
But you know, that's something to try for.
Okay.
All right, so let's finish it. And this is a very good example of how words and the speed of words and the participation in a poem affects how one accompanies. You understand?
Yeah.
So, in general, I think what you are having to do that is conserve your breath, and you use your breath often recklessly to get the optimal full sound. I think you need to use to conserve your breath so that you're not always creating, as I mentioned when I first met you, your signature sound.
Yes.
To tell you the truth, the very opening of the song should be more ethereal.
What's that?
Instead of... It's finding colour. Can I just ask you to sing for an illustration for Kehr ein bei mir?
To be ethereal?
Yeah. So if we go, just do the tri-abundant Schmerz. I'm not really singing a duet with her. Say it, please. For example, when Schubert wrote in the sketch, when he's composing it, he goes when you build a kitchen, it takes 3 weeks to build a kitchen and half a day to make it beautiful. The building is what's important, not the decoration. So often you think that this is important. It's really the harmony and the background. And the last thing that I have to come about is like play acting, like if you were on the stage. She has to be on the stage and she has to convince us as if she was in an opera. Du bist die Hu, that you are singing to someone who is. It's very interesting, the Rugged poems. They are not about girlfriends. They are about a wife. So basically, Du bist die Hu is not someone who you've just met at a dance. It's someone who cares for you, mother of your children. Die Friede wild. It's not, oh my God, I saw this beauty and I'm in love. So it's that actually, it's the friendship of an old pair of shoes that you know so well. Do you know what I mean? It's not actually, oh my God. But the affection, the love is there, and yes, it's almost holy. In Rickard's case, he was not at all Christian in his religion, but he was incredibly in love with his wife. The other great poet of the period, Justinus Kerner, who wrote Opus 35, Schumann, and some beautiful text for Schumann duets. Lust der Sturm nach, Stille Tränen, very great songs. And he was a doctor, one of the first people interested in psychiatric medicine, and a friend of Rickard. You understand, all these poets knew each other and visited each other in this period. Justinus Kerner, if you go to see his grave in Weinsberg outside Stuttgart. It says, "Here lies Friederike Kerner," that's his wife, "and her Justinus." Here lies Friederike Kerner, and then the great poet, and her Justinus. Number 2 in the same grave with the wife. So the second name comes only with the wife, and the famous Justinus Kerner. But that's beautiful, I find. And all right, it's very difficult to get a young man as young as you to know the feeling of being married for 15 years and deeply. But I have to honestly say that that is the type of imaginative excitement that we have to learn. And remember, if Schubert could write about Gretchen, a girl in love and enraptured at 17 with no experience, then imagination is not only about experience or about, it's about empathy. It's about, I can imagine what it would be like. Many of these emotions that you have to sing about in Ida are not ones you've experienced yourself, but a great actress has to know how to act. How good are you at acting? And I don't mean showing off in front of people. I mean what I call an inner acting. So that when these words, "Du bist die Frieda Milch" comes, you are somehow believing in them. You are somehow also partaking in them. You are also somehow, if you're lucky and you've studied, responding to the beauty of the language and the imagery. This is what makes the difference to how you play. I mean, I don't know. It's early days yet for you, you know? I mean, but believe you me, the more profoundly you are capable of feeling. And I'm sorry to say, a lot of young accompanists that I work with in England, in Germany, Australia, America, I give masterclasses all over the world. They think that's her department. She sings the words, she does the thing. My department is piano playing. Piano playing is only half of it. Half of it. If you want to really get to the top level. The other thing is mental preparation about what the poem means, what the song means, and in a sense the desire for you, together with her as your mouthpiece, to make the poem work. It's your mouthpiece. But she is not the only one responsible. I am thinking, I'm singing it with her as I described it in my head, and in singing it, I'm not just making an empty game of it. I am switching on to a response. Now, I've worked with a lot of great actors. How do they actually come on in a role? I've seen some people go, "Oh yes, yes, and don't forget, you've got to pick me up at 6:30 because in fact we've got to pick up the children." And then on stage, suddenly they're in the middle of King Lear. I'll tell you how. For 2 seconds, for 3 seconds, it is artificial, this feeling. You get inside it, slightly artificially, in my view. But then, something changes to reality. You get into it. You understand? Mm-hmm. And it becomes something that you are playing the game. Mm-hmm. And in a sense, in Frauen, die und Leben, I start. Do you know Frauen, die und Leben, the most famous of the Schumann women's cycles? You will. You will.
I know in Navon. I didn't understand.
Yeah, Frauen, die und Leben. When I play this, Frauen, die und Leben, She begins the cycle by saying, seit ich ihn gesehen, glaube ich blind zu sein. She is saying, I have seen somebody, and he is so absolutely beautiful that I am blinded. Right? So your job in finding these first colors is A woman, B, almost frightened by love, C, so Bam is not going to get that. You have to be who she is, and that's the type of game. You have to know your character, because there is no producer in Lieder, there is no lighting, there is no costume, there is no Sitzprobe, there's no curtain rehearsal, there's no prompt. But it's a world that is like opera. It's like opera in the home. It's like you are responsible for everything that normally an opera house would have: a producer and a costume specialist and lighting and props. But you are the blind girl, and you are the girl who was. So even the way you play that cannot be like a band. It has to be suggesting for her vulnerability. And this is just a tiny example, one song out of thousands. And each one has a different scenario, and each one has to be known and understood. If you have an appetite for that type of gameplay, that is the sign of being an accompanist. Because it's really, in the end, lots of people who play the notes. It's only a few people who can bring the extra depth to something that goes beyond the notes. Because the more you know and the more you feel, the more singers will feel your help is magical. Now come on, you know the difference between playing for a pianist who's informed about something and uninformed. It's nothing to do with how good they are as pianists, right?
Right, yeah.
It's nothing to do whether they can play Pavini etudes of Brahms.
It helps, but it doesn't depend on.
Well, it helps if you can play the piano. That's a given.
Yeah.
You have to be able to play the piano. And it's better that you should have someone who can play the piano than somebody who can't. All right, that's understood. But after that, so millions of records, millions of hearing people, your opinion on certain singers, who do you like, who you don't. You may change your opinion, but to have opinions is important. To look at the lie of the land, to look at what there is to know, it requires as much study as if you're doing technical engineering. You have books, you have papers, you have lectures. This is a similar field. You have to submerge yourself. And then in the language, I'm afraid it's not only German, that's just the beginning. What about all the French? What about all the great French composers like Debussy and Prof and Ravel and Poulain? That also. And then Italian, and then sort of English, because there's a lot of wonderful music in English, and the Spanish, blah, 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 blah. Takes a long time. It takes a long time to feel comfortable. But then suddenly something happens. You are a person of authority. And like me going into a hospital and the anaesthetist stands over me, I can tell she's done this many times. I feel calm because I know I'm in the hands of a professional. I had a very great illness in Sir Ralph Cohn. I'm playing the concert tonight in memory of Sir Ralph Cohn, who was a great friend of the Jerusalem Music Institute. And I was very ill, and he said, the important thing is that I find out who's the best for your illness. So he was 2 hours on the phone, and he came back and he said, the man you are seeing is considered the world's best. So when you go in, you have confidence that the man has done it before. But maybe in these times, taking certain equivalences from how things are working out in the world politically. It would be better to have a leader accompanist who's never played the piano before, and somehow that would be getting out of the musical elite. And then you could really see what results you have if somebody has no skill, no experience, no background, has never done it before. You want somebody who's done it before, my friends, in your medical operations, and also in your politics, and in your music making. Okay, let's try the song again, we have time. That's the type of thing that they won't notice, but I will. You see what I mean? That's a tiny thing. Sometimes if you push forward and don't allow them to breathe, and it's a microsecond, believe me, it's not a rigatando, it's not a fermata. It's a microsecond of allowing. Like someone who says mother instead of mother. It's just how, but allowing da-da-dee-da-dee-da-dee, and then playing on the mind. Now, you would have found that easier if you were singing the text with her. And at that point you weren't, because I could tell. But when she breathes and you're singing the text with her, you have to wait. That's one of the reasons. On then, on.
G'ran?
Yeah, continue. up at it, yeah? What you need to do at some point is come to study in Europe. You have to.
He's busy winning competitions.
What?
He's busy winning competitions.
The solo pianist. Yeah, well, you know, everybody in medicine decides, after becoming a general practitioner or doing their degree, do they specialize in the liver, do they specialize in this, do they? In my opinion now, in piano playing, to think it is possible to say, yes, I'm a soloist and I like to accompany from time to time, but none of these soloist accompanists really gets to the heart, because it's a life on its own. You know what I mean? I was at Juilliard many years ago, and somebody said to me, I'm not going to get anybody from the accompanying department. I'm going to get the best solo pianist. And I said, I know how you feel. I said, I've got a knee operation coming up, and I don't want it done by an orthopedic surgeon. I want the best brain specialist to do it, because a brain specialist is much more chic than an orthopedic surgeon. Basically, it's a specialism. And whether or not you do the specialism has nothing to do with your talent. It's your temperament. There are some people that are happy. I mean, look, a life as a solo pianist is great. You make a lot of money and you travel, and that's great. But if you do want to do accompanying, it's not enough just to occasionally do it. You'll get, of course, you'll get by. It'll be fine, but you won't be required by the great stars to that. In order to do that, you have to be a specialist. And if you want to take that up, it really depends on how much the music means to you, whether this literature means something to you, whether, and I also have to say, poetry fascinates you, whether people fascinate you, whether you have a personal feeling of helping other people is also something that you like to protect and help them. I mean, that's a personality thing. Many people don't have any interest in protecting or helping anyone. It's themselves. And also, and this is very important, if you are the type of personality that is like this, push for success, don't do it nothing. There has to be a side of your inner personality that also likes to step back sometimes. And that is with the spiritual side of who you are. And so whether or not you continue this will be nothing to do with your piano playing. It will be something to do with who you are as a person inside you. And that's very young to know. You have to find out. Thank you so much.